Okay, here's our 4-seat RZR. Started off as a 2-seat RZR S. And if you're familiar with the RZR 1000S, it's a pretty small machine. And we maximized it here. There's our 3-year-old. Cash, do you like sitting there? You're kind of sitting slouched down, aren't you? And then, are you gonna sit in your seat so we can show people? And then here's my 5-year-old that gets the big seat in the back. And he's got quite a bit of room, along with all of his toys. Do you have enough room, Wyatt?
Yes.
Yeah, do you like that seat? Is this our mudding machine?
Yes.
Okay, that's what it looks like, and I'll get into the build. Okay, so here's what I did to build this thing. Right here, the plastic, kind of see the plastic goes down there, and then it comes up here. Well, it would originally went back. So I just cut the plastic right here to go along with this factory bar. That's the kind of the only major piece I kept from the old back end. You basically take the entire back end off. Everything, the floor plate, the sides, the back. There would have been a cover. It kind of came up in here like that. You take all that off. And what it looks like, after you take all that off, it basically looks like a cabin chassis pickup where the back end's open and the frame's exposed. So on the bottom side here, you can see the factory frame stopped right here. All I had to do to connect it back here, that's an 1.25 inch piece, and that's a 1-inch piece. And then on both sides here, there's like a little plate that the old bed sat on. I just added a 3/4 inch piece right here. I did that so you got some space. You know, these engines get so hot. I just wanted, you know, air to flow through here so the back seat wouldn't be super hot. And it turned out working pretty good. I had to extend the back out. So here's where the original body mount stopped. So I just extended it back to clear the muffler there. So mounting it back here was really pretty easy. And then I added 2 support bars right here. As far as the frame, you can see where I just have 1-inch tubing or square tubing. So basically started off with just building a flatbed and mounting it to the frame. So once I had just that square flatbed built to kind of be the size I wanted, the bars were pretty easy. So up to this point here, all this down is all factory. I kept the factory crossbar. That's all factory. So I added right here and up, and then I added this support right here. On the front here, I cut it right there and then added the bar up. Let's see. So that's pretty much where I kind of cut and pieced it together. Back here on the back, once I had the frame for the flatbed part built, I added these supports here, and then they just went down to the bottom of the frame, and I tied them in right there. That way my right there underneath the sway bar, so I could keep my sway bar, which luckily I kept that. These shock therapy shocks aren't really that good, so I had to put my sway bar back in. So luckily I thought about that when I built this setup. So that's how it all ties into the back. I did add a small I think that's 1.5 or 1.25 inch trailer tube, and I just mounted it to the bottom of the frame for the flatbed. I added that just in case I needed more storage. You know, I'd have a place to put, you know, another cooler or some bigger boxes. And then as far as the seating goes, so here's where the 5-year-old sits. So I just mounted his seat right to the flatbed. Right here is where I get to fill my oil up at. So I just have to take these 4 bolts off and I can do my oil change pretty easy. Then, so that was his seat. Now for everything that I wanted. So we basically needed a 4-door, but I just didn't want to spend the money on a 4-door at the time. And we do a lot of trail riding, so you're gone for the whole day. So I needed a bunch of storage. And this thing, I mean, this is a small machine and I got tons of stuff in here. So I bolted down these 2 plastic totes. So all my tools are in these 2 totes, and I got some toe straps and, you know, just a couple other things in there. And then I have a water bottle here since we do a lot of mud riding. That's just to clean the radiator out. This spot here, my cooler, I got a small Yeti cooler. It sits perfect into there, and I can open it up about that far. So it's enough to get in and out of it. And I just got a hook here and a hook here that I built into it to strap the cooler down. And I put these little lips just in case, you know, if we're not doing any crazy riding, I usually don't strap it down. And those lips hold it in perfect. And then I put another aluminum piece right here. So I had somewhere to put these totes. So I got 2 totes plus this open area here. Usually the kids got a bunch of stuff in bags that we put there. And it works great. I mean, those 2 totes are plenty to hold everything for 4 people. So that's kind of how I have that set up. I got a little lip here to kind of hold everything from falling out. It just built into that aluminum flat piece there. This back bar, if I can get the camera to not have the sun, that back bar is just a 1x1 square tubing. You can see I have 2 bolts on it. So the reason why I have that bolted in, if I ever got to pull the engine out, I got to have somewhere to take it out. So that's what those bolts are for. I could just unbolt that bar and I have enough room to pull the engine if I ever had to, which let's hope we don't have to. The plastic siding, that is just 1/8 inch ABS. There's a place here in town that you can buy whole ABS sheets for, and they're actually really cheap. So that 1/8 inch ABS, you can form it just about however you want. It's kind of like metal. You gotta, like when I did this right here, I just had a hair dryer and heated it up and kind of formed it into place. Same thing with my fenders. Now, I don't know if you can see, they're a little warped. So when I built it, they were perfectly squared off. The problem is there's so much heat that comes off that engine. It just kind of deforms it as that heat comes out. But, you know, they serve the purpose. I didn't want to go with like aluminum or anything, just in case, you know, you whack it into a tree. You know, the plastic is forgiving. Same thing on the front right there. I just took, same thing, ABS, and just formed it into place. So I have all these clips here. All these clips are all the holes that the clip sat in. That's all mounted to the factory plastic on the front side. So it's almost like this thing was set up to have something like this put on it, because the spacing for everything just turned out absolutely perfect. So let's go to the front side. So my 3-year-old, he gets to sit on the blanket. Now, so I got my belt exhaust coming out right there. If I didn't have a snorkel on here, I could have just put a jump seat in there. And they make plenty of jump seats for these RZRs. So if you're not going to snorkel it or anything, you know, you could have just put a jump seat in there. Now, as far as fitting everything in here with snorkels, so there's my belt exhaust. It goes up, and then I run it into these two tubes. So the two tubes come and exit on this side in between where I got those two bars. Now, why did I do it that way? I can remove these two tubes. They're just vacuum line tubes. And I have got another tube right here. See, there's my intake that divides air in between the passenger and driver. So I take that tube, I hook it up to that. Guess what? I got heat up here, and it is amazing how much heat comes off that belt exhaust. So with us sitting in the front, all we have to do is throw a blanket over us. And with that heat blowing in there, dude, you can ride this thing at 10, 20 degrees outside, and it is actually somewhat comfortable. And then I did the same thing for the back kid. That's why I have two tubes. So he's got one right here. So I take the second tube, hook it up there, throw a blanket on him, and all that warm air blows up. Since I did those two tubes, I did have to have a clean out. So if I do ever blow a belt, I just have to unscrew this, and I can clean my belt out, you know, because the belt's not cleaning out through those tubes. And oh yeah, then my air intake, I just took the factory box and just mounted it to the roof. Pretty simple. It sits just right to where your head doesn't hit it, and pretty simple. I just, you know, this tube here goes straight down into the intake. Then my belt exhaust had a little, or sorry, belt intake. So here is the belt intake. So I had originally set it up so it was going to be nice and perfect in here. The problem I ran into, it was so loud. With that roof in there, the noise just like echoed off the roof. So, I mean, this is what I got for now. It's what I've been using for about 5 years. So I guess I'm probably not going to change it. I just took a 3-inch tee and just wrapped it with some 1/2-inch foam. And believe it or not, it works like a muffler. That noise got cut down in about half. The roof, I had some really thin, like decorative aluminum tread plate, because I wanted to keep the weight down as much as possible. So that's what I used for the roof, and it's super light stuff. And you can see where I have, you know, I welded some metal here, just drilled some 1/4-inch holes to bolt it up. Then the other thing I ran into, there's probably only a bolt every, I don't know, foot and a half. It vibrated pretty bad. So I just came in here with silicone and just put silicone around everything where it's connected. Get here where the sun isn't hitting it. Here where it's connected to my roll cage, I just siliconed it, and that was, I mean, I have 0 vibrations out of it now. Then the other thing I did, I put a glass windshield in it. I had the plastic windshields. I don't think they last more than a trip or two before they're so darn scratched up. So I wanted glass. Pretty easy. I just got 3/4-inch angle iron that I made my frame out of. That way the glass had enough bite to it. Did have to make like a 3-inch piece of steel here. So I couldn't run the window all the way up because I wanted a windshield wiper. So here's the back side. Here's my windshield wiper knob, just El Manuel. But dude, it actually works really good. You know, I just lean over and say, wife, wipe the windshield. And then I can tell her what speed, you know, fast, slow, slower. So it works out great. So really, it's not manual for me. Then we got our tube here, obviously. I just put, I don't know if I can get the sun. to cooperate. So I just put a piece of metal that tied the tubes in right here on all four corners, and same thing with my frame for my windshield. So it's bolted in all four corners right there. So when it's hot out, I don't run the windshield. Even with all the fans in here, it still gets pretty hot. And we'll move on to that next. So the other thing with these razors, and I don't know how the other ones are. I mean, I know this 1000S and this is a 16. Dude, the inside of this cab gets crazy hot in the summertime. So you got your radiator lines that run through the center hump underneath there. So I took some of that sound deadening. You see it on a lot of restorations or cars with stereos. It's just got this aluminum foil on it, and then it's got like a butyl rubber that just sticks to it. So I put that on first, and then I have some, you can see it's pretty squishy, some 1/2-inch foam. Kind of the same product as this. You know, if you like, look them up on Amazon, they're just automotive sound deadening. So I originally just did the butyl rubber, and it just wasn't enough. So I added the 1/2-inch, and it made a huge difference. So I got it there, and then I put it on the firewall pretty much wherever I could get my hand in there. So I did that there. And then on the front side, on both sides, I did the exact same thing, except for I didn't put the soft 1/2-inch foam in here because it would have just got shredded with everything coming off the tires. But this matting, dude, it's held up for 5 years. So I'm good with that. So the radiator, you know, it blows all that hot air right towards the cab. And this is just giving it something to hit and stop before it goes through the cab. Then here is my redneck AC. I need to paint that black one of these days, but pretty easy. It's just an inline fan, 130 CFM inline fan off of Amazon. I have it suck in here on the side, and a little bit of plumbing work, and I just mounted it right to the inside of my fender wall. And dude, it makes a huge difference. Like, it blows a ton of air, and it's shocking how well it works. So you'll be in this thing on like a 90-degree day, and you can feel the heat, and it feels like the heat just like it stops. Like it hits the door, and that heat just like stays in here. Well, with that fan running, it blows it up, and you know, and I wouldn't have the windshield on. It blows that heat up, then the air coming off the hood just sucks it right out of the cab. It's shocking how well it works. And then I added 2 little fans above the wife's seat. Between those 2 fans and that fan right there, dude, riding this thing when it's like 95, 100 degrees, it's not that bad. I mean, it's still hot, don't get me wrong, but it's not like smoky out of the machine hot. I think that's about it as far as everything I did to turn this thing into a 4-seater. So, I mean, a quick story here. The reason why I did this, we bought this machine almost 10 years ago. And then halfway in between there, I got married and we had kids. And it was just one of those deals, like right after having our first kid, looking at buying a crew cab. Dude, it was just like, I don't know if I got the money to throw away. You know, we already had this. It's already set up for what we needed to do. And this was kind of I'll build this for a year. You know, we'll have it for a year or two until we have our second kid. Well, we ended up having this thing for, God, about 5 years after having our first kid. And, you know, we finally bought a crew cab. So we do have a crew cab now. But this served its purpose for almost 5 years with kids. And it works great. It works good enough. I'm not going to sell it because now that I got a crew cab, I honestly don't want to take my crew cab and go in the water and the mud and do all the stupid stuff with it because it's so freaking expensive. I just kind of want to baby it and drive it on trails. So now we have this one, and I can still fit the entire family in this one, and we take this thing everywhere. Mud, water, rivers, ponds. I don't care. I mean, this thing's been through all kinds of stuff. So hopefully this helps any of you guys kind of wanting to do the same thing.